Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. I have a very special breakdown covering some of these fractals that I see playing out inside of our market cycles. Going back into our last bull market, I had the opportunity of making multi-millions of dollars when the market blew up by being positioned, by being early, and knowing good projects before they ended up taking off. With this cycle now approaching the major move into a new all-time high, I believe that we're about to be seeing the same type of ROIs, but only much bigger this time around. When we look at prior market cycles in years past, we see almost the exact same similarities today across the board on a number of these charts. So for today's video, I wanted to break it down, explain exactly why I think the people buying now are going to be so early long term, and how this is the moment before we're all about to make life-changing wealth in the process. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, breaking news. This is not even any sort of joke. Joe Biden literally posted laser eyes last night on his Twitter, and this is, the craziest thing I think could have ever happened, considering when we're talking about the market cycle, when we're talking about how institutions like to get in and then they send the market absolutely skyrocketing in the process. Now, when we see the market skyrocket, institutions need exit liquidity to take profit. How do they get exit liquidity? By using these sort of idiots right here to talk about it, to really get the masses in on the crypto, to want to put their life savings into it, only for them to do that at the top. So seeing Joe Biden post this and then say, just like we drew up, I mean, does it not get much more picture perfect inside of a market cycle than what we're seeing right here? This is the institutional phase. This is the moment of truth where institutional investors are in the market for the first time on a massive scale. We saw BlackRock get into the market. We saw Fidelity. We saw major institutional banks and corporations across the world, and this is only the beginning. I like to compare with you guys the valuation of a market cycle because really it shows what is taking place on the big picture trend for Bitcoin. In my opinion, all we're really at right now is sort of in this beginning sort of takeoff. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. This thing can surpass what this is showing. This is just this sort of metric as a way of, gauging sentiment. It's a way of understanding human emotion portrayed inside of our own, real world. When we're seeing Joe Biden turning laser eyes on to his profile picture on Twitter saying, this was planned all along, it basically is just giving confidence into the normal market, media attention. That's pretty much where we're at right now. We're going to start to see the media really drive the narrative around Bitcoin. We're going to see politicians really start talking about, Bitcoin disrupting the dollar supremacy. That will become a big talking point in 2024's election, in my opinion. So when we're seeing all of this sort of stuff playing out in real time, we're looking at the very beginning of this major sort of blow off top scenario in crypto, which historically speaking, we know that that's the case. We can come over here and look at a number of different charts and they perfectly show what I'm talking about. Now the reason I ended up buying Solana at the very bottom of this bear market was because I was too scared to buy Ethereum at the very bottom of its last bear market. But I studied the chart of Ethereum, and when we were looking at Solana breaking down in the bear market, we ended up seeing the exact same sort of price structure. And this is why I tell you guys, study market cycles. Market cycles are bound to have different price structure, but at the same time, as much as they differ, they do rhyme. And we've seen Ethereum and Solana often mimic each other in price. Their bear market was very similar. I mean, if I just quickly draw these things out for you guys, I think you guys kind of get the message. The price structure itself can look a little different. This was an ascending triangle. This one is actually a descending triangle that broke bullish. However, they both led to this sort of last blow off top, ending the cycle. The bear market, this first little lower high, same thing right here, leading into the final capitulation. I ended up buying it and posting signals anywhere from about $15, $16 all the way down to $12 inside of my group. I posted about it on Twitter. I made a YouTube video copying this fractal. So seeing Solana breaking out to this massive degree, this is exactly why it's important to understand these. Even though the bear market wasn't quite the same, it broke bullish much quicker. There's more money inside of this bull market than there was in the last cycle. There was a pandemic going on in this one. There was a black swan. There was all those reasons for why the market wasn't able to break out as bullish. But when we see the exact same similarities being repeated, all we're really at is pretty much this same moment where we pretty much just broke out of the bear market and this one's obviously a lot higher in price. It's holding better support than what we saw with Ethereum, and I think a lot of that has to do with the current market conditions. There's institutional involvement like never before. We got old Dingleberry Joe Biden posting laser eyes on Twitter. This is really the beginning of the whole bull run that we've talked so much about. It's so amazing to understand these cycles because it gives you such a strategic advantage to be able to look at the market, understand it, and almost take like a third-person perspective. When we're looking at these things playing out in real time, the average retail investor is sitting here thinking, man, Bitcoin, crypto, ETFs, it's still kind of sketchy. I don't think I'm going to get into that. And then when we start to see this market go into a new all-time high, maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year, I don't care. Either way, once we start to see that take off, we're going to see the media attention. We're going to see the public become enthused. They're going to be, oh, well, I faded this before. Now the media is talking about it. Fox News is all over this. I better jump in. So that's when they start getting invested. And this is when we start seeing the real bubble take off. What price is that? I don't know. But I do have a real potential that this is the final bull run of crypto before we see a maybe a decade-long correction. Considering what more needs to happen when we're looking at these things long-term. We have institutions. The institutions, historically speaking, when we're looking at this from a long-term basis, the institutions are basically right here before the blow-off top. And the reason the blow-off top takes off is because the institutions need exit liquidity to realize their gains. So the only reason this is even going to happen is because these institutions need to take profit. And, what ends up following after that could be a very long bear market, and we stop following the 4-year cycles. In my opinion, that's probably what's most likely. We're going to continue to invest based off of the 4-year cycles, but imagine that we don't ever go into another new all-time high. Maybe the next 4-year cycle is just 3 years of us going sideways. That type of stuff is very possible. So we have to understand these things from a long-term macro perspective. If the institutions are getting involved, that's not necessarily the greatest thing unless you were early on like we have been. Then it's great because they're going to pump our bags. But you got to take profits, guys. That's the most important thing. Even if you're long-term, even if you've got however many 1,000-day stakes or whatever, I'm just playing along. But for real, if you guys have 5, 10 plus year stakes, still look to take profits. You don't need to relock all of that long term. You can take some of that, lock up some of the profits, pay yourself long term as we're going into this big bubbles type of move. And then anybody that's understanding the 4-year cycle trend knows that, 2025, the end of that year, is where our projected cycle top is. So when we're looking at all of our charts, we're seeing these fractals playing out in real time. I think it's important that we're understanding how not only is Solana doing similar sort of fractals, but this is a chart on PulseX, and it looks just like the original Ethereum cycle, the first bear market it had. It looks very similar to that same consolidation that we saw, and all we're really at right now is the breakout, the retest of this prior range as new support, and this is where we're about to go into price discovery. Shout out to Dallin at High Altitude Investing for actually coming up with this. He actually was the first person that brought this to my attention, and it's such an amazing thing to see these sort of fractals playing out in real time because it's been one of my favorite ways to analyze the market because crypto is so cyclical. They go in these big boom and bust periods, and the fact that they have followed these 4-year cycles up to this point, I think that that's going to be broken, pretty soon. Institutions are probably going to do their own thing. That means people think that we're just going to absolutely send it for the next 10 years and never stop going up. I personally believe that this is the blow off top. However, this is the cycle that we want to have money in. This will be way bigger in comparison to the last one. Seeing all of these markets just at the very beginning stages of their breakouts, like how Ethereum was, the majority of the bull run is just waiting to happen. So it makes me excited, guys, because I remember how much this sort of move right here changed my life because I put 300K in crypto right there at the very bottom. I had just made a bunch of money at the time, and so it was my girlfriend that actually told me to put it all in, and I'm so thankful that she did that. I'm so thankful that I ended up listening because what ended up happening shortly after was the majority of that entire cycle. So when we're talking about how much money is about to be made, imagine, Ethereum doing its thing, but imagine thousands of Ethereums doing that. And then imagine all of these ecosystem projects doing it too. There's just going to be way more upside because now we have all of the institutions already, accumulating. Now we're going to see the media attention start to really shill it to the masses. The masses are going to come in and they're going to drive the value of all of our long-term stuff. So we're just at the very, very beginning of all of this. Even though I think that this could be the blow off top, the amount of money and upside we're about to experience still yet over the next couple of years, in my opinion, will just be life-changing. So coming over here and looking at the altcoin total market cap, we once again see the same similarities in structure, and this is a chart I've pointed out a lot. Now looking at the time frames, Looking at our bear market bottom from peak low to the low of COVID, we saw 455 days, 650 days, a little over from the point of us breaking the bear market and then actually retesting it as new support, flipping that resistance level, and then that was where we went into the new bull run. Looking at where we're at right now, we pretty much saw the same time frames. Peak low to the end of our correction was just under 500 days. Peak low to from where the bottom of this current correction retest of our breakout was just under 600 days. So we're not that far off from the same time frames of that last cycle. But I will say, most likely what ends up happening for like the altcoins, I don't think that they're going to instantly teleport like this one did. I think that they're going to run up to this level up here or close to. Then from there, they'll see some sort of correction. And then we'll get a move into new all-time highs. I don't necessarily anticipate us just going instantly vertical, but with this being the institutional cycle, if they just start shilling it to the public right now, they really could at any point now, we're going to see the markets blow up. So I think that the best strategy is never to try and predict things. Don't sell below the cycle top. I think the best thing we should do is look to hold, throughout this year, probably even into 2025. My plan is to hold till the end of 2025, unless, we absolutely just start front running. If this market doesn't correct, if this market just starts breaking out, like kind of how we saw right here, we do something like this, I'm going to end up taking profits in that move just because I don't think it's going to be as sustainable. The thing about 2017 was Bitcoin spent all of this time sort of building this ascending support, right? And it just slowly maintained higher highs and higher lows. And then that's what led into this big blow off top. So in our last cycle, we didn't really see that. We saw Bitcoin make this massive sort of triangle type capitulation with the COVID crash. Then it went straight into a new all-time high right after. And we just didn't see quite the same sort of, consistency in the trend. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Fed just turned on the money printer and everything just got hyperinflated. When we're looking at this cycle, it's a little different, right? We have, the understanding that with this cycle, there's already the institutional backing. They're already positioned. The government's pretty much come out and said, yep, crypto's good. Even stable coins are good. Have at it. And now this is the point where we're going to end up seeing that big sort of cycle. We talked about the institutions, how that's the moment right before all of the real upside of the cycle sets in. And where we're at right now is just the first breakout to begin that new cycle. So it makes me excited because I see everybody that watches this channel, I see all the people I interact with on Twitter that are going to make a financial fortune if you're positioned for the long term, if you understand the long term, and if you, most importantly, you got to realize your profit. You got to sell a little bit. Just keep that in mind as well. We are long-term focused, but we also get greedy profit taking because the truth of the matter is this. Altcoin cycles tend to revert the majority of their profits, and you give up so much by not selling it. So with this being the institutional cycle, they're going to need all of the exit liquidity in the world, so they're going to shill to the public, to the mainstream. When all of these markets get ballooned out of proportion, sell it. Take your profits. Even if you're staked long term and you can't sell that, sell whatever you can stake. Sell whatever you have, been received from the stakes. Regardless, you definitely want to be looking to take some profits because we don't know, what happens after the bear market. Is this the last cycle? Nobody knows. So what we're going to end up doing, if we have a bull run and we take our profits, we can watch as the whole, market collapses. We can watch as everybody, rushes to the exits and gets rug pulled like it happens every single cycle. And then we can actually wait for all of that to unfold. If we have a new cycle, we can buy back in. We can see that the market's corrected another 70-80%. We can see that it's kind of starting to trend sideways and it looks like it's basing, just like every one of our prior cycles of all time ever have. I don't think that it's just going to go like this and then just instantly leave without you. None of those things have ever happened. So when we're playing the cycle, if we're going to have another massive move, a new blow off top, just like all of our prior cycles have played out, which it's looking like it's going to be, the best thing that we can do is just take our profits, look to get into other investments, look to guarantee that we have that money, pay off debt, help our family get out of debt, whatever it is that we have, big goals and ambitions to do. And then when the market crashes, we can look to go back into the market. But let's assume that the market has some major crash. We have some economic collapse of the dollar. And even though we switch to crypto, that it goes sideways for 10 years after. Do you want to be the guy that has to just, be forced to hold all of these altcoins as they crash, as they capitulate, as they run out of funding over the course of a 10-year sort of cycle that's different than that's different than anybody's ever seen? Or do you want to take your profits, have the money in the bank or in other investments that are going to go up, and then just guarantee that you can take that money and go back into the new cycle as you see it unfolding. That's the best thing, because you don't want to sit here, make all of this money, not take any profits, watch as it crashes all the way back down, and then just have to be praying that these people come in and pump your bags over. The best thing to do of all time is to get in and get out, get in and get out, and position yourself long term that way in the cycle. So looking over here, one of the things I wanted to talk about is the Bitcoin dominance. And I've talked a lot about how this is in a long-term descending triangle where we have this horizontal support, we have a descending resistance. And now guys, what is happening over the last little while is Bitcoin is starting to get another buyback. This is now getting close to the range highs. The question is, are we going to break down? Is this going to hold as resistance, or is this going to end up breaking out? We have a few scenarios. I like to believe that this is going to end up holding in the same ways that it has up to this point. I like to believe that this really is a descending triangle before we're about to break down and have another one of these sort of cycles. Now, there's going to be a lot of fear with that happening as any sort of market moves towards your target. There's always the unknowing of, is it going to hit it? Is it not going to hit it? Am I going to get just barely missed out? You always wonder about those things. And so as we're approaching this resistance, we could see this end up being some sort of bull trap before it breaks down and does something like that. I don't know for sure, but we're going to have to just watch and see what the market does. We know for a fact that if this breaks down and we do start another one of these, we're going to end up seeing a lot of profit. Now, the cool thing about this cycle is if we just come back down and retest this sort of support that we were at, we'll already have a cycle as big as the last one. That'll basically be the same size. Maybe slightly smaller, but we'll already see an insane amount of profit right there. Then assuming that we actually break down and go into a new all-time low like 2017, that's where the altcoin gains will be absolutely life-changing. And I can't even begin to put words around how life-changing it really will be, because I was there for 2017. I watched people just print money off the most silly things, and now we have even sillier things arguably, but there's going to be more money than ever before flowing around. So this is what I believe is happening. I think we're all about to make a lot of money, seeing the markets breaking out in the same ways that they always have, seeing this sort of same cycle playing out where we're right at that exact same moment of time where the institutions are involved. They're going to start shilling it to the mainstream so that they have exit liquidity. The mainstream and, Joe Biden coming out here and, having the laser eyes on his profile. We are at the exact moment that we've all talked about for so long, where the masses were going to get, coming into crypto, where we're going to get mainstream adoption. We're seeing it playing out in real time, and it's a little unfortunate because I've been here in crypto for 8 years now. This is my third bull run. I want to see these things continue to go up, but to be completely honest, what more needs to happen? How many more cycles can actually happen now that the institutions are here and they need exit liquidity? I genuinely don't know that answer. And that's kind of what I'm a little bit worried about and skeptical. That's why I'm going to be heavy profit take in this cycle. I really think it's going to be the most delusional one of all time. We're going to see meme coins, the most silly things of all time, just blowing up in value left and right, as well as good projects that are, really valuable, doing insane sort of returns. This is where we've been positioned for. This is what we've positioned for the sake of the last however long you've been in crypto. And the only thing that matters is holding this cycle and realizing that profit when we take that profit at the end of the bull run. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys want to learn more, if you guys want to see how I'm investing, make sure you guys check out the description of this video. You're going to be able to find the link to my website and sign up to my private group. From there, it's a one-time payment, lifetime access. As long as I'm investing, you guys are going to be able to follow along. So check it out. Links are in the description. And with that being said, thank you guys so very much for watching this channel. I love each and every one of you, and I'm super thankful for the opportunity to just do what I do every single day. So thank you guys for the support. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.